Hey, my name is Fred the Finch. If you've been playing Deadlock, you might know me as Ronald. I'm one of the best Yamatos in the game right now, and as of this recording, I'm also the rank 1 Doorman with 35 Doorman games in just the last few days. Doorman is one of the most unique and interesting characters I've ever seen in a game in general, so I felt a guide for this character would be really helpful for a lot of people to kind of understand your game plan and what you should be trying to do on this character. We're going to start off a little bit basic, just going through his abilities and kind of what he does, and then we're going to start diving deeper into different strategies, different play styles, and things you can do on the character. So just starting off, going through his basic kit, his gun, and his abilities, Doorman starts off with 675 HP, 3 stamina, and 8 bullets in his gun. He has the second lowest bullet velocity with 203 meters per second, and his bullets do 28 damage per bullet, level 1. He has 8 meters per second of movement speed and 2 meters per second of sprint speed, and he is a bucket 1 stamina user, which means that his dashes are faster than the average dash. With each boon, Doorman gains 42 base health and 1.15 base bullet damage. That sounds like a lot, but he does once again have a very slow fire rate and only 8 ammo. And at max level, Doorman has 2000 HP and 65 bullet damage. Moving on to Doorman's abilities, his first ability is the Call Bell, and this sends out a projectile that has both a middle bell radius as well as an outer AoE damage. When you impact somebody with the bell, they will take the impact damage, and if you shoot the bell or after a delay, you will get the explosion damage in the entire AoE. Moving on to his second ability, Doorway. This is basically just playing Portal 2 in Deadlock. You can place 2 portals in the map, and these portals will connect each other. You can shoot through them, you can walk through them as many times as you would like. Enemies can take them, teammates can take them. They are highlighted on the map for your team, and you can see them through walls both on your team and on the enemy team. And you can cancel this ability by pressing it again when both the doors are up, or if you only have one of the doors placed down, you can alt cast this ability and take down that door, and it will have no cooldown when you do it like that. Something very important to keep in mind with Doorman's portals is that as of right now, the game treats distance based on the distance in the actual map. So if you put a portal between you and an enemy 100 meters away, your gun will be doing minimum damage if you're shooting through that portal. And if you do something like rescue beam and you try to rescue beam somebody through a portal, also doesn't work. You can't cast it through the portal, and you also can't walk through the portal while you're pulling them. It'll just cancel it. Moving on to his third ability, the luggage cart. You send out a small cart that carries enemies along with it, as well as doing a little bit of damage. And when you max it out, it also does damage when it hits the wall, as well as stunning them. Be careful because this ability is deceptively small and can be single jumped over, so sometimes you'll miss things when they really should have hit. And finally, moving into his last ability, Hotel Guest. Doorman sends you to a small pocket dimension where you do a little parkour course, and if you make it to the end in time, you take the cost of stay damage, and if you don't, you take the failure to check out damage as well as the cost of stay damage. This ability lasts 6.5 seconds, but can end early if they escape or if they fall into the void. When you put all of these abilities together, you get a character that has a ton of utility as well as a good amount of damage. He is very bad at farming, but can be super active on the map and create a lot of opportunities for your team, as well as shut down hyper carries on the other team. So let's get into how to do this. Because of how ability based this character is, your AEP order is super important and can really change how you play the game. In lane, you need to put 2 points into your call bell in order to add a ton of damage both in lane and just throughout the entire game. And after that, maxing your luggage cart in order to get double damage as well as a 1.5 second stun is super important and will allow you to combo people and give you a ton of agency throughout the mid game. After that, maxing your door allows you to have a ton of pressure everywhere on the map and really exist anywhere you want to be. The barriers are also super nice on door. Something to note about them is that it gives a barrier to anybody in your team who goes through it for the first time. This doesn't mean that only the first person that goes through it gets a barrier, but if your entire team goes through it, they will all get the full barrier. And then finally, I put points into my ult to max it out. In my opinion, the ability points into ult aren't honestly super important and can be quite niche. The range is nice, and the unstoppable can be very good in some games, so sometimes putting an early unstop into your ult can be value for sure. But the cooldown reduction doesn't actually have as much of an effect as you would think. Generally, you're going to have one Doorman ult per fight, and you're almost never going to get two. This is going to be true whether you have max ult or not, and in practice, max ult doesn't really allow you to get more ults out unless you max it first. However, luggage cart is so strong that I don't think it's ever worth maxing ult first, so it gets relegated to third. And lastly, if you run a few urns and you have enough points to put into your max one, you can grab that as well. The reason we don't really get this is because the half explosion that occurs when you do impact damage doesn't actually do damage to the person that you impact. So unless somebody's standing right next to the other guy, the extra explosion damage won't actually do anything. Blading on Doorman is one of the simpler parts of this character, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. Your general goal as Doorman in lane is going to be to abuse your high base bullet damage as well as your large call bell in order to harass them and push them back to their guardian while you both take their guardian and kill them. While this sounds easier said than done, this character really does have a ton of poking potential and is really hard to force out because of how much utility he has. Especially after the tier 1 upgrade, Call Bell has a super big radius, so even if they're hiding behind cover, you can be harassing them, and then as soon as they come out of cover, you can abuse your high base bullet damage as well as your large bullets in order to deal a ton more damage and poke them out even further. My second ability I unlock is usually my luggage cart, and I use this anytime they push me or they get aggressive. I'll just push them back with my cart, and then I'm out of danger. This can also be used to push them out of position. For example, if you get behind them and you can push them into your team, or you get to the side, you can push them out of cover. That can also be very useful to set up kills with your teammate. But the easiest application is when they push you and you create distance. As soon as I unlock the door, I'm basically unkillable in lane unless I'm stunned or CC'd. I will usually put a door back by my guardian, and then as soon as I get pushed, I can just put down a door on whatever wall is closest to me, and then escape through that. Alternatively, if you are rolling your lane and you want to play more aggressively, you can cancel that door and then put one behind their guardian or on the wall to the side looking into their shop, and then you can harass them behind their guardian and behind more cover like that. This can also be used for tower dives and things of that sort with your teammate and can easily get you out from behind the guardian as well. And finally, when it comes to ult can be used almost similarly to luggage cart, where if they push you and you really need to get out, you can just ult them and then run away. And this works really well against characters with like really strong ults, something like Seven, Warden, Haze. If they ult you, you can just send them into a little pocket dimension and they can't do anything to you while you just run away. Ult can also be used to secure kills if you don't have any more abilities and you need to do a little bit more damage, or to set up combos, where if you ult somebody, you can set up portals both behind them and by your guardian, and then as soon as they spawn in, throw in your luggage cart and send them into your guardian, or a ton of other things. This character rewards creativity and gives you a ton of different options. In terms of itemization during lane, I like to build a ton of damage in order to help my harass and make sure that they can never come back. So things like Headshot Booster, Mystic Shot, Extra Charge, and Mystic Burst will all give you a ton of damage and extra pressure in lane, so you can rush something super impactful. I like to rush Rapid Recharge, as it allows my call bells to do a ton more damage and allows me to have a lot more of them to kill more people. But you could also rush something like Express Shot, Cult of Sacrifice, or even Fortitude. After lane and through the mid game is when you get to start being super active on Doorman and creating a lot of opportunities for your team, as well as shutting down the other team a lot. The first thing to think about while playing Doorman through the mid game is stealing the other team's resources. While Doorman doesn't really have great jungle potential, he has a ton of potential to get in and out of the other team's territory. So, when the other team has vending machines, boxes, or medium camps open, you can put down a door in your territory and then walk straight into their jungle, steal it, and immediately door out. Even though he's not fast at stealing, he's super safe. And because he's not fast, you should always prioritize the vending machines over anything else. Another thing that Doorman enables super well is split pushing. If you have one teammate with you, you can push basically for free with almost no repercussions, just like stealing their jungle. Just put down a door within range of the walker around your side of the map, and then walk up to the walker with your teammate, put down a door on the wall, and then as soon as they pressure you, you can just take the door and run away. Do make sure when you're using doors with your teammates to always calm and make sure you're clear about what your intentions are, whether you want to run or you want to stay, where the door is, and things of that sort. Especially while Doorman is a new character, it is very hard and inconsistent for other people to use your doors effectively. So keeping consistent comms can be very helpful in ensuring that they still do take them. During this time in the mid game as well, you will have your max luggage cart, which allows you to set up super nasty combos that deal a ton of damage and will just one-shot people. If you hit them into the wall with your cart, they're stunned for a second and a half, and you can put two bells on them pretty consistently, and then ult them if you still need extra damage, or you need a little bit more time to either bring your team there or to wait for your cooldowns. This part of the game is also when your ult becomes super important for shutting down hyper carries and super threatening parts on the other team. So make sure you're looking at their team comp and keeping track of the game to see who's really threatening to your team. Oftentimes, this is somebody like a Warden, a Haze, or people with really strong ults. So if you ever see them going in and you see them engaging on your team with their strong ult, you can just ult them and shut it down completely. With the right positioning and timing, you can even catch things like Lash ult, Dynamo ult if you have the Unstop upgrade, or things like that too. It's also good to keep in mind that like a lot of other abilities in this game, the ult has increased vertical range, so if a Lash is quite far above you, you can still ult him a lot of the time. Doorman is also great at defending walkers. As soon as they push the walker, you can set up a door behind or by your walker and push the other team into a door behind them that sets them right under your walker. And Call Bell also gives you great wave clear, so you can keep the wave away from you. The last important part of the mid game is the mid boss. Doorman is great at both securing and stealing the mid boss and can do some really fun and interesting things with it. The most basic thing to do in mid boss with Doorman is to simply luggage cart the people that are trying to secure or steal into the wall for a long stun. Another similar thing you can do is set up a door outside of the mid boss and then put one against the wall next to the crystal and luggage cart them straight out of the mid boss. The last super important thing to do is to identify the best stealer or securer on the other team and just ult them. They can't steal or secure if they're not in the fight at all. Also, if you're stealing with Doorman and you're solo, even if you only steal one, as long as you have a door set up outside of the mid boss, you can TP out and keep that rejuve for the rest of your team and still have the revive. And as always, the more creative you are with this character, the more fun things you do, the more you get rewarded for it, and the more impact you have. So always be thinking of different things you can do. And in terms of itemization, I think Fortitude is super strong during the mid game, as well as things like cooldown reduction, tank buster, and more utility things like slowing hex and knockdown. A super fun thing you can do on Doorman is to slowing hex knock down somebody into your ult so they have slow stamina, no movement abilities, and they're stunned as they go into it. This will super often make them fail and take extra damage. Knockdown is also just a great overall utility item, as well as making your luggage cart a lot easier and more consistent to hit. The most important power spike item on Doorman, however, is Echo Shard. Echo Shard on your luggage cart allows you to stun somebody for a full 3 seconds while you combo them, use your bells, and your team can also shoot them as well. Finally, as we go into the late game, Doorman starts to become a little bit less of a damage dealer. His utility still stays just as relevant, if not more. By this time, you'll have max doors and a lot of cooldown reduction, so you can basically be anywhere you want on the map at any time. And anytime you go into a fight, you can teleport across the entire map and escape almost anything unless you're hard CC'd. Like I said before, you don't quite have as much damage potential as you do in the mid game, as Doorman doesn't scale crazily well, but he still does have a good amount of damage and can 100% combo people, especially if you're ahead and fed. And with a full 3-second stun, if you have your team with you, Anybody you catch with luggage cart is basically dead. There's honestly not a ton of difference between the playstyle from the mid game to the late game, other than that you have a lot more team fights and a lot less split pushing. So staying with your team and being active with them and using your utility to enable them to win the fights with you is a lot more important. But the way you take these fights is very similar. And speaking of taking fights, this character takes fights in a quite unique way as well, as he does almost everything else. It's very important to go into fights with a plan and an idea of something you want to do rather than trying to come up with it while you take it. Almost every time I approach a fight, I try to put down a door within range that will help me escape if I need it. So just as I approach, I put something down on the wall, and then anytime I need it, I can escape. And if I need it for something else, I can always cancel that door and put it somewhere else in order to make a more aggressive play. The next thing to think about is who's on the other team in that fight, who you want to ult, who you want to combo, and anybody you can isolate. So this will take looking at the map, looking at the team comp, and being aware of kind of where they want to position within the fight. And once you decide all of that, I tend to play rather in the back line of my team, staying a little bit further back, poking with bells, and just looking for anybody overextended until I can walk up, cart them into a wall, and combo them. And while you're doing this, also being super aware of the person you want to ult and who you need to shut down with that. And then the last thing is just once again communicating with your team what you want to do. If your team knows your idea and what you're trying to accomplish, then they can play around your portals as well. They know who to worry about, and when you're comboing people, they know when you're ulting somebody, and they know to not be afraid of something like Warden ult, where they usually need to be ready for it and prepare to escape or kill that guy. And going through all of these hoops every single fight, every time you engage, isn't easy. And it's going to take time. So be patient with yourself, enjoy the character, and as long as you're actively thinking about the things that you want to do, you will improve, you will get better, and it's going to feel better every single game. And finally, just going into itemization in the late game. I always believe it's super important to stay very flexible in the late game with your itemization, and you need to be looking at the other team and what you need to accomplish in the game. However, some really strong items on Doorman are Spirit Burn, Transcendent Cooldown, Vortex Web, Curse, Silence Wave, or things like that. Also, Shredding Resist can be super consistent on him with something like Spirit Rend or even Crippling Headshot. And build up super quickly on him, so something like Toxic Bullets can be good anti-heal if you want, or even slowing bullets builds up in 2 bullets. Anyways, that brings us to the end of the guide. So if you made it this far, I would really appreciate a sub or a follow on my Twitch. And if you have any questions, any other ideas, any comments, feel free to leave them in the comments on YouTube, in my Discord, which is linked below, or in my Twitch when I'm streaming, or in my YouTube when I'm streaming. I appreciate you. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time.